to the Brain Profits Podcast. Are you ready for the show? We are, so let's go. Welcome back to another episode of the Brain Profits. I'm Doug Mapp, cognitive development professional and entrepreneur, and I'm here with my cohorts. Stacey Busby, what's going on?
Hey, Stacey Busby, executive coach, and I'm a 43-year-old female, so I'm super excited about our guest today. I've been super psyched to be watching all of her work for the last month, and I'm also here with the doc.
Hey, I'm Dr. Philippe Dion. I'm a board-certified neurologist, author of the book Neuroplasticity, Your Brain Superpower, and the ebook Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. I'm also the creator of the online course Take Charge of Your Brain, and I am super excited for the guest that we have today. She has become one of my new favorite people because her energy is amazing. Her passion for what she does is absolutely amazing. So I'm excited to have Amber Shaw with us today. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my!
Amber.
Thank you. I'm like, I need you as my hype man, like every day, okay? Because on this Monday morning, after a long weekend, I'm like, yes, okay, I am here for it. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you guys.
Let me tell you, Amber literally brings color into my life because whenever I'm on a Zoom with somebody who is not Amber, I'm in black and white, and I don't know why. Whenever I'm on a Zoom with Amber,
you're right.
Always color.
That is weird.
So, yeah.
I love
That
it.
is incredible. Yes,
And-
that is true.
And she put me onto something that doesn't make me sexy at all, but it helps with my sleep. And it is those little masks, these silk masks, to help me sleep during the day. So
Yeah, I
thank you
got
so
him.
much.
I have him wearing one of those at night now. Can you believe that?
That's hilarious. Does it cool as well?
Yeah, it feels really good. I mean,
yeah, I
look,
told you.
it's not sexy. Like if you saw a picture of me with it on, you'd be like, dude, what are you doing? But if there's nobody in the bed with me, it's okay.
We have to go get a picture of that for later so we can actually put that in the show so we can see it if they're watching the YouTube version of this.
Yeah.
Hey, a well-slept, energized man that can love on and support someone in their life. Heck, I think that's sexy. I don't care how you sleep. My eyes are closed too.
Right? Yes, I love that. Yes.
So we want to hear a little bit about why it is that you do what you do. And one of the things that I have found in life is that when people start pursuing their passion, their purpose, they often get it from some personal experience, right? And they take their personal experience, their professional experience, and create something absolutely amazing to have a tremendous impact on the people that they're serving. So I want to know why it is that you got into what you do.
Such a good question. And I always love sharing my story because yes, I'm also a big believer in just taking, your pain and your life experience and how do you turn it into purpose? That's really how I've operated my entire life. And so how I really got into coaching women over 40 to how to get off the crazy train of dieting, like I always say, and really lose the weight for good was really through my own experiences. I grew up a serial dieter from the age of 15, and really even going back earlier than that, probably from the age of 9, I started to develop this overwhelming feeling that I needed to have a different body, that my body that I was in, the size that I was not good enough, that I needed to somehow look something different. I needed to look differently. And this is at the age of 9. And so and it's not that I was an overweight kid. I wasn't, but I was very tall. I was joking. I'm like, by the time I was like 13, I was fully developed. I was like 5'7". I looked like I was 18. In fact, I used to have like an 18-year-old ID when I was like 14. That's a whole other story for a whole other day. Okay. But I grew up in Daytona Beach. All right. So, just do the math there. Right. So, no, but I was like fully developed and all, and so but I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be in a different body. I was bigger than the boys, bigger than the girls, all of it. And so I really started my first calorie restricted diet at the age of 15. I can remember walking into Subway and knowing nothing about calories. I just knew I wasn't supposed to eat a lot of them. And so I was going for, the veggie sub because it was the least amount of calories. And this really was a snowball effect. This really started to progress for me pretty seriously to where into my early 20s, I was bulimic. And that, fortunately for me, I had the resources and the awareness to recognize that this was dangerous. This was not a path I wanted to go down. And so I had the resources to get help. And I healed the physical part of the binging and purging, but I did not heal the mental part. I did not fix that piece of it. And so this pattern for me just really continued throughout my life. And then I had 2 babies, and with both pregnancies, I gained about 65, 70 pounds. I was about 215 when I delivered both of them. And it's really because I used my pregnancies as an excuse for like a 9-month binge. I mean, that was so, and if there's women that are listening to this, I know a lot of moms can identify with that, because especially if you've spent your entire life dieting, it's almost like an excuse to just do whatever. But it was really unhealthy for me. I mean, I had a lot of health issues with it, like super high blood pressure. And it was just not, which should have been like a pretty healthy time of my life, because I'm like creating a baby, I'm growing a freaking human here. It was really actually one of my more unhealthier times of my life. And then after I had the babies, well, then because I was in such a tailspin, I'd never been that heavy in my life. And so then it just went, all of my body obsession and my dieting tendencies and unhealthy tendencies came back with a vengeance. And I lost all the weight both times. But it was super unhealthy. I mean, I was like basically starving myself. I was working out like, 6 days a week, 2 hours at a time. I mean, it was just really not a healthy time for me. Fast forward to getting ready to turn 40, and really my life pretty much imploded. My marriage fell apart. There were some things going on in my personal life, and I just had to. I was getting ready to turn 40 too, and I had to start asking myself some big questions, like, what do I want the next 40 years of my life to look like? And so I really started examining all areas of my life. My job, my marriage, myself, and what I realized was that I was really broken. I was really, really broken. I just had such a dysfunctional relationship with food, with my body, and ultimately with myself. And so I really set out on a healing journey to heal myself from the inside out. And what I realized was that so much of my issues with like food and body obsession and all of that really had so much more to do with my mindset than I realized. And so now, my mission in life is really how to teach women how to shed the weight, but really teach them how to heal from the inside out. And when women coach with me, they realize that sustainable weight loss is so much more about mindset, and just the way that the permissions you allow yourself, the grace you allow yourself, the way that you look at food, all of that is so much more a part of sustainable weight loss than they give credit for. And so really that's kind of how I just, again, turn my pain into purpose, and feel so passionate about teaching women, particularly over 40, because our bodies are different. Things we used to do in our 20s and 30s, they don't work as well anymore. And so really empowering women, who most women have spent a lifetime of beating themselves up and bouncing from one diet to the next, and just teaching them how to live their best next 40 years or 30 years or whatever. So that's kind of how I got to what I'm doing.
That's awesome. You mentioned how you had healed yourself physically, but you knew mentally that you hadn't sort of healed. And what was the disconnect between your physical body and your mental health, that at that moment that you knew like, I still need to work on this?
I think it was really, just to kind of sum it up, it's like, it was really when I looked in the mirror, right? And the way that I would talk to myself, and the way that I would, maybe I wasn't like, sticking my finger down my throat and physically throwing up the food, but like just the self-loathing that I would do. And like every time I would look in the mirror, and I was constantly picking apart my body, and the really unhealthy attachment that I had to the unhealthy attachment I had to my body, and that like with the physical body, right? Like the way that my body looked and how I let that define my self-worth. And what I mean by that, and there's a lot of women that are listening, I think that will appreciate this, but a lot of women have a healthy attachment to the scale. Right. And it is like an obsession for a lot of women. You get up in the morning, and I mean, I had like my ritual that I would do. Literally, I would get up every single morning, strip down naked. I had to pee first too, because you got to get all the liquid out. Like, God forbid that I add 1 ounce to the scale. And I would get on the scale and I would weigh myself. And what I realized after like years of therapy is that it was so much bigger for me than just seeing what that number popped up. I would literally hold my breath and wait for that 3-digit number to tell me how I was going to feel about myself that day. Either I was going to, think, give myself a pat in the back and be like, okay, well, you didn't gain any weight, or you lost some weight. Cause I was always trying to lose weight, like regardless, always. Or I was going to tell myself what a piece of crap I was, like that I had no willpower. I was going to beat myself up because, God forbid, the scale even fluctuated a little bit. Then I was going to let it determine the way that I spoke to myself that day. I was going to let that determine how much food I did or did not eat, because if the scale went up, then I was certainly not eating as much food. And so it was really just like things like that, right? Things that the thoughts that would go through my head about myself and about food and all of that, I knew. Not at the time, I'll tell you that. Like in my 20s, I don't think that I realized it then. Again, like it's later looking back, I'm like, you stopped physically throwing up and binging and purging, but I still had such an unhealthy attachment to all of these sorts of things that were really ruining my life.
Yeah, and I think what you said about the thoughts that you were having and what you were telling yourself, that is so critical, right? Because one of the things that I always say is that words are the verbal embodiment of power. And what you tell yourself, the thoughts that you have shape who you are, and they shape what your future is going to look like. And the fact that you recognize that, I think that is powerful, super powerful.
Yeah.
When did you, I was gonna say, when did you realize that what you were going through, you weren't by yourself, that there were other women that were experiencing the same thing?
Oh, I got to tell you, well, it was really when I got on TikTok. So I got on TikTok as a part of my business. It's such a big part of my business and how I grew my business. And I just started like sharing my story. And I just started really, and at that time, I was still actually going through my own healing journey, like as I was launching this business, this coaching business, and I was really kind of healing myself at the same time. But it was really when I just started putting it out there and just really talking to the woman over 40 who's been struggling with her body for a long time. And when I started sharing little micro stories like the scale, or just other little tidbits like that, and women were like, oh my gosh, it's like you're speaking to me. Then I realized, like, yeah, I'm absolutely not alone. I don't say that dieting is like, the root of all evil, but I kind of actually do say that, right? Because I think for women, what a lot of people don't realize is that the dieting culture has absolutely screwed a lot of women up, and especially women when we get to over 40 and we've been living a lifetime of this. It really has taken a toll on our body image and our confidence and just the way we feel about ourselves. And I think so much of that is from the dieting culture. And so, yeah, when I started really sharing my story, I think more on social media, it just really encouraged me to be even more vulnerable and just just really share my story, because I think women find power in being able to connect with other women who are going through the same thing.
Amber, as you were talking about your story, it was occurring to me how grateful I am that you've chosen this point in your life right now, right where you are, and speaking to us, and I was going to say your population, but over the last month, you've been really speaking to me. And there are lots of places you could have chosen to go back and help somebody before, but there's this beautiful place right now to find a place for women. And I kept thinking, as I was first getting to know you through social media and your website, how important representation is. And Doug and Philippe, we talk about this as far as Black medical professionals and all different spaces. We need to be able to see ourselves to really receive the information, trust it. And one of the pieces for you, for our listeners, Amber, one of the pieces that she coaches on and gives education on is intermittent fasting. Mm-hmm. And I had read the Bible of intermittent fasting. I don't remember the author's name. It's way up high on my top shelf that you can't see in here, because it was a male who had kept talking about, yes, it's different for women, but we don't really know how. And so then I got nervous and I was like, well, I'm not going to do damage to myself. And so I'm not going to do it. And then I saw a woman of my age speaking to it and how it affects us and what things to be thinking about. And so I just, all of that to say, I really celebrate you in choosing this space. And the other thing for our listeners that Amber does is that she owns the fact that this isn't just about weight loss. This is about lifestyle. And that means when I see you on Instagram, you're talking to me while you're folding laundry and your kids' laundry. And you are embracing the fact that we can be a woman, we can be a mother, we can be a business owner, and we can prioritize the hell out of ourselves while we're doing all of this. And that it's not one or the other, we're bad because we haven't. I really, in my journey, I'm finding that the realization in my 40s is I've been pouring out, and that's been a beautiful strength of mine. And I have no freaking clue how to pour in truly. I can talk about it, but when it really comes to prioritizing the time, the energy for it, I feel guilt. There's this level of I'm supposed to be for others. So just want to really, the last 30 days have been amazing to really lean into this space of who I care to be inside my mind when it comes to taking care of myself. And so thank you for creating that space for all of us.
Wow. I'm humbled and honored. Thank you for such kind words. I love that you brought that up though, because I think talking about mindset shifts, when I talk about how sustainable weight loss is really, in my opinion, it is really, like I said, so much more about mindset. That is such a huge part of it for women, particularly mothers. And that is one of the biggest mindset shifts that I almost think it has to start there, which is really owning and wrapping your head around this idea that you cannot show up for everybody else if you are not showing up for yourself. And think about how much better you could show up for everybody else if you were really taking care of yourself first. And this is something I see, and I struggle with it too. I'm a mom of two. I mean, this is something I see day in and day out. And one of the beautiful things about what I do is when I can really see that transformation in women, when it really finally clicks with them, that's like, okay, wait, I can do both. I can show up for myself. I can get that workout in. I can take care of my nutrition, and I can still take care of my family. And a beautiful thing happens too, especially with moms, is that and I hear this time and time again, when they start taking care of themselves more, their family sees it. Their kids see it. Yeah, they start hearing things from their kids like, no, mom, like I can tell you, like, you're so much happier. Like you are just all of these things. And that is such an incredible thing to witness. But it is so, so true. And it absolutely is one of the hardest things for moms to get around. And what I always tell, my clients and my women that I coach is, you got to look at the long game. You got to look at the long game. I know right now, two things. One, you got to look at the long game, because I think that like right now, it feels so good to really pour into everybody else and put everybody else first. But what does that look like 20 years from now? What does that look like 20 years from now? Right? Like, are you going to be at your healthiest place in your life? Like you can pour into your kids right now. Are you going to be able to pour into your grandkids? If you're not taking care of yourself and you're eating like garbage, you're not exercising, probably not. You're probably not. So we got to think of the long game. And the other thing that I really coach women on is really taking some time to get really clear on what is your why behind pouring into to other people, right? Sometimes what we find is that we get we get benefits from that, right? So are you a people pleaser, right? Are you somebody that gets validation from people needing you, right? So your motivation deep down, even though you might cover it up, be like, no, I just want to be there for my kids. Okay, I get that. I'm a good mom too. I want to be there for my kids. But is there something deeper than that? Is there something deeper going on that really it's because there is this deep desire to feel needed and to feel wanted? And so somehow we, and this is a very common thing for women to have and men too, but is that really the driving force? And so I think sometimes it just takes getting really clear on what's really going on there as to why you are having either a hard time saying no to things, or you are putting everybody first. And usually when women say to me, well, I just don't have time to work out, I don't have time to eat, better. You do have the time. It's where you're putting your time. And that is a harsh reality. And a lot of women don't like to hear, well, there's 24 hours in the day and everybody has them. It's how you choose to prioritize them. And I think that can be very triggering for women. It's like, well, you don't know my life. I'm busy from sun up until sundown. Like, I get it. We're all busy, but you can't deny at the end of the day, there are 24 hours in the day and we all have them. So you choose how you want to spend those. So yeah, I think that, that is just a really, really key thing, I think, for women to start to look at. If that's somewhere where you struggle, just start asking the questions, get honest with yourself as to what's really going on.
For all of our listeners that either just tuned out or did that moment of, Amber has no clue. It is not about me. People are making me do this. Society tells women we're supposed to do this. I invite you in this moment to rewind this to the point where Amber started talking about, where we can take radical ownership in this. Yes, society has conditioned us, fine, but society is not changing super fast. The best way to change society is if we change ourselves, because then folks get to see it. Our partners get to see it differently. They get to help create time for us along the way. So again, go back and rewind that. And I'll invite you to this question. If Amber was even 1% accurate about your life, that you are creating this reality, how could it be 1% true? Just find that little bit. And right there is where we might have the power to make that change. I love that fierceness, Amber. That's amazing.
Thank you. And I will say too, like, if you are somebody that you did tune out, well, honey, that's your dead giveaway. You need to rewind it. Okay. Like, if you like, just, that's the dead giveaway that I was talking to you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, can you tell us a little about the Wellness Revolution podcast that you got?
Yes. Oh my God. This is my baby. I tell you what, like, I was joking, I got into podcasting. I ended up launching this podcast in like 30 days. And I had no desire to do a podcast, right? My business coach, Jill Coleman, she is such a doer coach. And I'm she tells me to do it, I'm going to do it. So I launched this podcast in 30 days. And within the recording the first couple episodes, I was like, oh, damn, this is my jam. I was like, I love this podcasting. And really what I realized, the reason why I loved it so much is because I just wanted to really build a space and a community where I could really talk to women over 40, just in all areas of life. So this is a podcast that is really dedicated to speaking to women over 40, although I do have a lot of male listeners because they're like, you're giving me a lot of good tips or just helping me in my relationship. So I appreciate it. But I've got, we're talking all things nutrition. So I continue my platform of really teaching women about, using food as medicine and really stopping the diet. And we talk about fitness. I'm also a certified personal trainer. So we do talk about fitness and really fitness on best practices for how it relates to women, over 40. But we also get to talk about things like mindset, which, as you guys can probably tell, I really consider myself, I think, more of a mindset coach that helps women how to lose weight, because that's really kind of how I teach it. But we talk mindset, we talk relationships. I got divorced in 2021. No, wait, 2022. I mean, 2020. Good Lord. I got divorced in 2020 when I got divorced. And my boyfriend's like, you guys have to tell me. So I got divorced in 2020. So we talk a lot about divorce. I share a lot about my experience with that. It was one of the darkest and most difficult time of my life. So we talk a lot about relationships. And we really, as I say, we just kind of talk all things life over 40. I mean, and I absolutely, I love it. I love it. Love it. one of the greatest gifts that I think I'm so grateful for is getting that DM from a listener who's like, I listened to this episode and you have no idea. It changed my life. All right. Or, I listened to that episode and I really, I have some things to think about now. And that's just such a beautiful thing.
So far, what was your favorite show?
Oh gosh, you mean like
Topic wise, I guess.
I will tell you, I had the privilege of interviewing Anthony Trucks. Just if you guys are familiar with Anthony Trucks, he is a motivational speaker, former NFL player, motivational speaker. And we had a great conversation about having identity shifts. And so that was really fun. I also had the privilege of interviewing Gabby Bernstein. And the reason why that one was so special to me is because her book, The Universe Has Your Back. It's either Universe Got Your Back, Universe Has Your Back. I don't want to misspeak on that. It really changed my life when I was going through my divorce. So she really, the whole premise behind that book is that like spirit has you exactly where you need to be at all times. And really one of the greatest things about, personal growth is learning how to lean into that pain and just trust that things are working out exactly the way that they should. And so I read that book when I was going through my divorce before I launched my business, and to be like in a full circle moment where I then have her on my show was absolutely incredible. So yeah,
that's cool. I love that, seeing the energy you have by having the podcast. We have that same feel to it. So tell the people where they could find you on the social media platforms.
Yes, so I pretty much hang out on most of them, but I'm on TikTok for sure. Best way to reach out to me though and communicate with me is through Instagram. So if you want to send me a DM, I always love connecting with new people. I'm MS Amber Shaw on both platforms. So yeah, you can absolutely connect with me there. I would love to hear from you.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on this episode of the Brain Profits. This was just part one of a conversation. We're gonna have part two coming up in a little while. But you guys have listened to the Brain Profits. Until next time, thanks for coming on, Amber.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Amber, for all you're doing.